In this video I will give you an overview about my $137 drone project, how the build went, what are the characteristics of the drone, the configuration, and basically the installation of the camera, the receiver, and the video transmitter. Here do we see the wiring diagram of the included Omnibus F405 flight controller. I stuck exactly to this wiring diagram. Differences in my build are that I did not include LEDs. There are LEDs included in the package. However, I did not mount them because I typically don't do this. Also, there is the option to use a GPS, which I might add on later. That's a very cheap component that can be ordered also on Banggood or on AliExpress. And what it provides is, in worst case, if you lose the RC signal to the drone, it will automatically try to come home with GPS rescue at current Betaflight versions. There is a Betaflight version coming in which includes a full return to home. Basically, the drone tries to also land and quite nicely land. Here do we see the resulting wiring. On the flight controller on the right side you see the white plugs going into the flight controller and in the ESC. These are basically pre-configured and were provided by the manufacturer. So basically you have just to plug in the ESC with the flight controller. Below we see a little bit the soldering of the motors. I'm not the best solderer, but I think it's fine. They're working fine, obviously. On top then is the soldering for the camera, the VTX and the ELRS receiver. A nice touch with this build is that the condensator was also provided, which is typical for 6S builds. So I will also try this build with a 6S battery. Also is very interesting that the screws are sunk down into the carbon, which I'm not used to even with more expensive builds, so I think that's really a nice touch. Everything is fitting fine, the edges are finished, nothing is sharp. I mean, for me it's a great frame and yeah, very good quality. Here do we see how I did install the VTX. So I basically used a zip tie that goes around it. I used a foam pad below to isolate it from the carbon fiber. I think theoretically would be a piece of cardboard or something similar also fine, as the VTX is held by the zip tie. As I mentioned, it does not have smart audio, so you have to manually put in the channel, but I think that's also okay considering the low price. Here do we see the front. Basically I glued the ELRS antenna below the front carbon. I think that's a solution that is fine because I used a soft glue and it seems to be fine sticking to it. Usually I would use a TPU mount printed out, but like I mentioned before, I think it's a cheap and easy solution for somebody who is coming into the hobby. Regarding the camera, I will recommend a different set of VTX and camera because there is now an upgraded version available which is even cheaper. So this I will link below in the video. Like I mentioned, I tested already this setup at least on the bench and it's fine. Picture quality is quite nice. So that's how the result looks like without the top plate. The camera is already installed. The camera is not soft mounted. It's installed on carbon fiber plates, which is fine for me. The overall setup is really light and I have the feeling that it will be a really nice drone to fly. Only thing where I'm a little bit skeptical is the ESC. It looks nice. Also configuration was fine, an update to BlueJ ESC software, but let's see if it will hold up and if it is also able to handle 6S voltage. that will show then the test on the field. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned to see then the configuration video. I will do a screen capture where I show you my ESC setup, so basically how I updated to BlueJay, and also how it's set up basically, and then also the Betaflight setup where we can have a quick walkthrough and you can see how everything is, at least on the bench, looking nice and working fine.